Alright guys, and welcome back to Star Wars Review. Today, got a little news video as already about a month ago, the Game Awards happened, and during it, there was 2 new Star Wars video games announced, which I'm just going to dive right into it. The first one was honestly a crazy one, as they announced a game titled Fate of the Old Republic, which is a new, not sequel, but more of a spiritual successor to the Knights of the Old Republic games, which Fate of the Old Republic will be developed by Argonaut Studios, which is a new studio formed last year, by Casey Hudson, who will also serve as a game director for this game, but, he was the game director on the Mass Effect trilogy, and I think he was game director on the first Knights of the Old Republic game. All I know is he definitely worked on it, but I am pretty sure he might have been. But obviously then KOTOR 2 was developed by Obsidian, so he didn't do that for that game. But he'll obviously return for this new game, which the trailer doesn't really show much. It is just a CG trailer, as they only just started development, as the studio was only formed not even a whole year ago. So yeah, but the trailer shows a female Jedi landing on a planet. I'm not really sure which one, but it's stormy and very rocky looking world. But the Jedi joins a droid and another person holding a blaster rifle. We don't get any close-ups of those two, so not really sure what type of droid it is. Like, it could be an HK, but I don't think it really looks like one that much, so I'm not really sure. But they walk up to the ruins of a ship, which looks a lot like the Leviathan, which was Darth Malak's flagship in KOTOR. But obviously, it could be any interdictor class cruiser, because they all look the same, but it could be the Leviathan. I'm not sure. But they head into the ruins of the ship, and then the Jedi comes across something. Seems like some sort of creature, something. Not fully sure. We don't get any look of it, but we then get a close-up on her eyes, her face really, as she ignites her blue lightsaber as it shines in her face, which is a cool shot. But yeah, that's all the trailer shows. So just a very basic tease announcing the game. But obviously there were some more details later. It will be a full-fledged single-player RPG with decision making, just like in the original KOTOR games, where you'll play as a Force user and can either follow the light or the dark side. So exactly like the KOTOR games. And that's all we know. It's obviously still several years away. I would assume maybe at the earliest 2029. It could easily be later than that. As this will be I would assume a pretty big title. Obviously, the original KOTOR games are now a part of the Legends continuity, and they haven't specified which continuity this game will be a part of, if it'll be Legends or part of the newer canon continuity or its own thing. We don't know. Obviously, it's not being described as a sequel, but a more a spiritual successor. So it does make me think it could be a part of the newer canon, and therefore most likely canonizing several things from the KOTOR games. But we currently don't know. I assume we'll eventually find out. But a couple years ago now, there was the announcement of the KOTOR remake in development, which we haven't heard anything official from that in years now. See, that was originally being developed by Aspire, but then it kind of went into a bit of a development hell and then moved to Saber, who has since been working on it and we haven't gotten any real official update on that game at all. And I did see there's recent rumors, nothing official, and I don't know how true it is, as they are just rumors of a remake for KOTOR 2 also maybe coming. So with those possibilities, I don't know, maybe we'll just re-canonize the KOTOR games. Now with this FOTOR coming out, and also with the kind of the KOTOR remake, I do hope that has kind of gotten a little better in the development, and hopefully that actually does come out, because that would something I would be quite into. But also with this new Fate of the Old Republic, one thing I'm very interested to see is how the combat will work. As in the KOTOR games, the combat is more, I guess, kind of CRPG, I guess you would say. Like the Baldur's Gate or the first two Fallouts would be a example of that. In KOTOR, I don't think it's as good combat-wise as those games, but obviously that's the kind of style combat kind of is. So I am interested to see if they'll do something like that again, or do, I don't know, something more like Mass Effect's combat. But obviously then again, that's all shooting, and this would be lightsaber. I don't know. That is one thing I am very interested to see how they'll do that. But yeah, like I said, not a whole lot. Was quite a surprise though, and I am quite excited for this game. Obviously, we haven't really gotten a full-fledged Star Wars RPG since those KOTOR games, and those are really the only full-fledged RPGs there are for Star Wars. So I am excited to get a new one. Like the Jedi Fallen Order, Survivor have skill systems and leveling up and all that, which is similar to an RPG, but outside of that, they just aren't really RPGs. So that's really close as we've gotten to that. Definitely excited for an actual more real RPG for Star Wars. And yeah, obviously not much else to say there. Like I said, there was 2 Star Wars games announced, which the second one, which was revealed near the end of the show, and at first I didn't pay attention until like halfway or a little bit into the trailer, and I'm like, oh wait, this is Star Wars. Which, what it is a new racing game titled Galactic Racer, which will be developed by Fuse Games, which was formed by former developers from Criterion Games, who made Burnout and did several Need for Speed games, but also did assist on Star Wars Battlefront 2, as they, I think, mainly worked on the ship combat in that game, which is honestly one of my favorite things from the EA Battlefront 2. But this game will actually come out soon, as they did reveal a 2026 release date, or release year, no exact date. So, if that does stay true, and also the previously announced Zero Company comes out next year also, that means we'll get 2 new Star Wars games this year. But the game will be set after Return of the Jedi, as the crime syndicates are forming a new racing league, which going from the trailer, the dialogue kind of makes it seem like the Empire kind of outlawed racing, and now with them gone and the New Republic trying to regain the galaxy, they create a new league, which it does seem like the game will have a story mode where you'll play as a racer named Shade, who climbs the rank of this racing league. And we see a few planets you'll race on, mainly Jakku we see a lot of, but also Andu Prime, which is a snowy, rocky world, which we see in a hologram race in Attack of the Clones. But also a new planet called Sentinel-1. And I assume there'll end up being several other different planets and whatnot. I don't know what kind of a racing game, if it'll be something more where it's just tracks, or if it'll be something a little more open, like Forza Horizon games or racing games like that. I assume it's probably just more just singular tracks as we see several different worlds. But also, you'll be able to ride in several different types of speeders, from regular land speeders to pod racers and all that. So I am definitely interested in that, as most of the racing we've seen in Star Wars has just been like the pod racing where it's only pods, the swoop racing, or there was that one episode of The Bad Batch. So we've seen several different types of racing. Kind of interesting to see it being several different types of speeders. Obviously, that's probably more of like just because it's a video game and it'll be fun to be able to ride several different types of speeders. And obviously then they'll just kind of have it work in actual lore. But at the end of the trailer, they do reveal that Sebulba will return in the game, which he actually already did recently in that racing VR AR game which came out last year, which I'm forgetting the name of it. I honestly completely forgot it came out, but it's also kind of weird because there's AR where you put the goggles on and it's kind of like you're in your actual environment and then you just play. It projects the digital thing on the wherever you are. So yeah, but I am excited to finally get a new Star Wars racing game, as it's been a while since we've gotten one of those too. So yeah, but it is set to come out next year in 2026 on PS5, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. No word on Switch 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it would come out on Switch 2. Doesn't seem like a game would really not be able to work on there, but who knows. But yeah, that's all there is to really say for that, and that'll be it for this one. Excited that we're finally getting more Star Wars games of different varieties. Like I said, an actual full-fledged RPG and a racing game, which we haven't gotten in quite some time for Star Wars. So exciting there. I do wonder if soon we'll get another kind of multiplayer, like a Battlefront 2-esque game again. As I know, obviously people love the EA Battlefront 2, so who knows. But yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I've been Star Wars Review, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.